The retirement party was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. 37 years I had given to that hospital. 37 years of 12-hour shifts, sleepless nights, and holding the hands of dying patients when no one else would. I had earned that party. I had earned the gold watch, the speeches, the tears, and the applause. But none of it mattered. Not one bit. Because when my son Marcus walked through those double doors, everything I thought I knew about my life shattered into a million pieces. He was wearing a suit that cost more than I made in a month. He was holding a glass of champagne and smiling that perfect smile he had inherited from his father. He looked like he had stepped out of a magazine. And he was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. My son. My only child. The boy I had raised alone after his father died when he was just 7 years old. The boy I had worked double shifts to put through college. The boy I had sacrificed everything for. The boy who was now worth more money than I would ever see in 100 lifetimes. He walked up to me and wrapped his arms around me, and I felt safe. I felt loved. I felt like everything I had done had been worth it. And then he opened his mouth and the world stopped spinning. "Mom," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Who's been keeping the $6,000 I send you every month?" The room went quiet. I felt the blood drain from my face. My hand started shaking. My retirement party. 37 years of service. Dozens of my colleagues watching. My son's wife standing nearby in a dress that cost more than my car. And Marcus was looking at me with genuine confusion on his face. He wasn't accusing me of anything. He was genuinely confused. He thought I had been receiving $6,000 every month. "I hadn't seen a single cent, Marcus," I whispered. "What are you talking about?" His smile faltered. He looked around the room, suddenly aware that everyone was staring. "The money I've been sending you, Mom. $6,000 a month. For 2 years now. I've been sending it to your account. The one you set up." I felt like I was going to pass out. 2 years. 6,000 a month. That was $144,000. $144,000 that could have paid off my mortgage. Could have fixed the leaky roof. Could have replaced the furnace that had been limping along for 5 winters. $144,000 that could have meant I didn't have to choose between buying groceries and filling my prescriptions. "There's been a mistake," I heard myself say. "I haven't received any money, Marcus." "I don't know what you're talking about." His wife Renee stepped forward. She was wearing a cream-colored suit and heels that clicked against the floor like a countdown to something terrible. "Mom, Marcus has been sending you that money every month. He set up the account himself. Remember? You gave him your information when you were in the hospital." I stared at her. I remembered the hospital. 2 years ago. I had been hospitalized for a month with pneumonia. It had been touch and go. There were days I didn't think I would make it. Marcus had visited me. He had sat by my bedside. He had held my hand. And yes, I remembered giving him my financial information. I had been groggy. I had been on heavy medication. I had trusted my son to handle things. Because he was my son. Because I had raised him to be decent. Because I had never, not in a million years, imagined that something like this could happen. "Marcus," I said quietly. "I have never received a single dollar from you. Not one. I've been living on my pension and Social Security. I've been eating canned soup and going to the food pantry at St. Mary's. I've been rationing my blood pressure medication because I can't afford the full dose." His face went pale. The color drained from his cheeks so fast I thought he might collapse. "Mom," he breathed. "What are you talking about? I've been sending you the money. Every month. Without fail." I excused myself from the party. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I walked out of the banquet hall and into the hospital parking lot, and I sat down on a concrete barrier and I put my head between my knees. People kept coming out to check on me. Colleagues. Friends. My boss. I waved them all away. I needed to be alone. I needed to think. Marcus followed me out. He sat down beside me on that concrete barrier and he didn't say anything. He just sat there. Waiting. Finally, I lifted my head and looked at him. "Tell me everything," I said. "From the beginning." He told me about the account he had set up. A special account in my name. An account he had been depositing $6,000 into every month for the past 2 years. He showed me the bank statements on his phone. There they were. Monthly deposits. $6,000. Every single one. Withdrawn from his account. Transferred to an account bearing my name. Except it wasn't my account. I had never seen that money. I had never accessed that account. I had never known it existed. "Where's the money going, Marcus?" I asked. He shook his head. "I don't know, Mom. I thought it was going to you. I thought you were getting it." We both knew there was only one person who could have intercepted that money. Only one person with access to my identity. Only one person who had been in the hospital room when I had given Marcus my information. Only one person who had been so eager to handle everything. Renee. My daughter-in-law. The woman who had always been so sweet to my face. The woman who had always been so helpful. The woman who was now standing in the doorway of the hospital with a perfectly composed expression on her face. "Is everything okay?" she asked. Her voice was honey. Her eyes were sharp. I looked at her and I saw something I had never seen before. I saw a predator. "Everything's fine, Renee," Marcus said. He stood up and walked toward her. "We just need to sort out a banking issue. I'm sure it's just a mix-up." Renee smiled. "Of course, sweetheart. These things happen." But I saw the flicker in her eyes. Just a flicker. Just a moment of panic before she recovered. And I knew. I knew with absolute certainty that Renee was the one who had been stealing from me. That she had created a fake account in my name. That she had been taking the money Marcus had been sending me and using it to fund her own life. I didn't say anything. Not yet. I had learned a long time ago that you don't confront a liar in public. You gather your evidence. You build your case. You wait. And then you strike when they least expect it. My name is Eleanor Walsh. I'm 65 years old. I'm a retired nurse. I worked in the emergency room of St. Mary's Hospital for 37 years. I saw things that would break most people. I held the hands of dying children. I comforted families who had just lost everything. I saw the worst of humanity and the best of it. I thought I had seen everything. But I had never imagined that my own daughter-in-law could do something like this. I had never imagined that the woman who called me mom could be stealing from me while smiling to my face. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in my small house on Oak Street and I stared at the ceiling and I ran through every interaction I had ever had with Renee. Every visit. Every phone call. Every conversation. I remembered how she had always been so eager to help with financial matters. How she had insisted on setting up online banking for me. How she had said it would be easier for everyone. How she had taken my information and promised to handle everything. I remembered how she had seemed almost too helpful. But I had been grateful. I had been relieved. I had been so relieved to have someone take care of things. I was getting older. I was tired. I didn't understand all the technology. It was easier to let someone else handle it. And that someone else had been stealing from me. The next morning, I went to the bank. I sat down with a manager named Mrs. Patel, a kind woman who had known me for years. I told her about the account Marcus had set up. I told her about the money that was supposed to be coming to me. I told her about Renee. Mrs. Patel listened quietly and then she started typing on her computer. She frowned. She typed again. She went into the back and came out with a stack of documents. "Mrs. Walsh," she said gently. "There is indeed an account in your name. It was opened 2 years ago. But the contact information on file is not yours. The address is different. The email address is different. And the account has been regularly accessed from an IP address that does not match your home." She showed me the records. $5,000 in monthly deposits. Every single one of them withdrawn within days of being deposited. Transferred to another account. An account in Renee's name. An account that had been used to pay for luxury vacations, designer clothes, and a brand new Lexus. $144,000. Gone. Stolen. While I was eating canned soup and praying the furnace wouldn't give out for one more winter. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there in Mrs. Patel's office and I felt something cold and hard settle in my chest. I had spent my entire life helping others. I had given everything to my patients. I had given everything to my son. I had given everything to my family. And this was how I was repaid. By a woman who had looked me in the eye and called me mom while she was stealing my future. I thanked Mrs. Patel. I took the documents she had printed for me. And I walked out of that bank with a plan. A plan I had learned from 37 years of watching people survive the worst moments of their lives. I would not react with anger. I would react with precision. I would not scream. I would gather evidence. I would not attack. I would let the truth speak for itself. I called my son and told him we needed to talk. Just the two of us. No Renee. He came to my house that evening looking tired and worried. He had been up all night thinking about what had happened at the retirement party. He had been trying to figure out how the money had gone missing. He had been blaming himself. I sat him down at my kitchen table and I told him everything. I showed him the bank records. I showed him the fraudulent account. I showed him the transfers to Renee's account. I showed him the proof that his wife had been stealing from us both for 2 full years. He stared at the documents like they were written in a foreign language. His hands were shaking. His eyes were wide with disbelief. She wouldn't do this, he whispered. She wouldn't do this to us. The evidence is right here, Marcus, I said gently. I didn't want to believe it either. But I had to face the truth. You have to face the truth too. He sat there for a long time. Silent. Staring at the papers. I watched his face change. I watched the confusion turn into anger. I watched the anger turn into something worse. Something that looked like grief. The grief of a man who had just realized that the woman he loved was a stranger. Marcus, I said quietly. I need you to think carefully. Did you ever give Renee access to the account? Did you ever give her permission to transfer the money? He shook his head slowly. No. I set up the account myself. I told her about it. I told her I was sending you money every month. But I never gave her access. I never gave her permission to touch it. Then she forged my identity, I said. She opened a fake account in my name. She redirected the transfers. She stole the money. All of it. Marcus stood up so fast his chair fell over backwards. He started pacing. He ran his hands through his hair. He looked like a caged animal. I'm going to kill her, he said. I'm going to go home right now and I'm going to kill her. No, I said firmly. You're going to do nothing. You're going to sit down and you're going to listen to me. I've handled crises my entire career. I know how to do this. If you confront her now, she'll lie. She'll manipulate. She'll make you doubt yourself. She'll turn it around and make it seem like it was a misunderstanding. She'll find a way to make you feel guilty for accusing her. We need evidence. We need a plan. And we need to act with precision. Marcus stopped pacing. He looked at me with new eyes. The eyes of a man who was seeing his mother as a person for the first time. Not just as his mother. But as a survivor. A fighter. Someone who had been through worse than this and come out the other side. Mom, he said quietly. What do we do? I told him my plan. First we would hire a forensic accountant. Someone who could trace every single dollar that had been stolen. Second we would hire a lawyer. Someone who specialized in financial fraud and elder abuse. Third we would document everything. Every conversation. Every piece of evidence. Every single detail. Fourth we would wait. We would not confront Renee until we had everything we needed to prove our case beyond any shadow of a doubt. Marcus agreed. He was still angry. Still hurt. Still reeling from the betrayal. But he agreed. He trusted me. And that trust meant more to me than anything. One more thing, I said. You need to understand something, Marcus. This isn't about the money. I don't care about the money. I've lived my whole life without much money. I can keep living that way. But this is about something else. This is about justice. This is about accountability. This is about making sure she can't do this to anyone else. Because if she stole from me, she'll steal from someone else. And we have a responsibility to stop her. Marcus nodded. I understand, Mom. I understand. But I could see that he didn't fully understand. Not yet. He was still processing. Still in shock. Still trying to reconcile the woman he loved with the woman who had betrayed us both. Over the next few weeks, we built our case. The forensic accountant found evidence that Renee had been stealing from Marcus too. Not just from me. She had been siphoning money from his business accounts. Small amounts. Hard to notice. But over time, it added up. Another $200,000. She had been funding a secret lifestyle. Luxury items. Vacations she had told Marcus were business trips. Gifts for her family that she had claimed were from Marcus. She had been lying to everyone. Manipulating everyone. Stealing from everyone. The evidence was overwhelming. It was devastating. Marcus stopped sleeping. He stopped eating. He stopped going to work. He spent his days and nights going through documents, trying to understand how he had missed it all. I tried to help him. I tried to comfort him. But I knew there was nothing I could say that would make it better. He had to process this on his own. He had to find his own way through the grief. The lawyer we hired was a woman named Diane Cross. She was sharp, tough, and absolutely relentless. She had seen cases like this before. She knew exactly how to handle Renee. She advised us not to confront Renee directly. Instead, she recommended we gather enough evidence to file a formal complaint. She recommended we press charges. Financial fraud. Identity theft. Elder abuse. The penalties were severe. She could face years in prison. Marcus hesitated. He didn't want to see his wife go to jail. He still loved her. Or he loved the person he thought she was. He was still struggling to accept that she was capable of this. But Diane was firm. Mr. Walsh, she said. Your wife has committed serious crimes. She has stolen from your mother. She has stolen from you. She has forged documents and committed fraud. If you don't press charges, she will do this again. To someone else. Maybe to your children in the future. If you let her get away with it, you are complicit in whatever she does next. That got his attention. The thought of his future children being victimized by the same woman. That was what finally pushed him over the edge. He agreed. He agreed to press charges. He agreed to let Diane handle everything. The day we confronted Renee was the hardest day of my life. I had been a nurse for 37 years. I had told families that their loved ones had died. I had delivered news that shattered people's lives. But nothing had prepared me for what I had to say that day. Marcus and I sat down across from Renee in her beautiful living room. Her beautiful house. Her beautiful life. All of it built on lies and stolen money. We know, Marcus said. No preamble. No soft opening. Just 2 words. We know everything. Renee's face went white. But she recovered quickly. She always recovered quickly. That was her gift. Her curse. What are you talking about, sweetheart? She asked. Her voice was honey. But I could see the panic behind her eyes. The money, Marcus said. The money you've been stealing from my mother. The money you've been stealing from me. The accounts. The transfers. The lies. We know all of it. Renee tried to deny it. She tried to make excuses. She tried to blame me. She said I was confused. She said I was getting old. She said I didn't understand the financial arrangements. She said Marcus was overreacting. She said everything she could think of to deflect and distract and manipulate. But Marcus didn't let her. He held up the stack of documents. The bank records. The account statements. The forensic accountant's report. The lawyer's memo. "It's all here, Renee," he said. "Every single thing you've done. We have proof. Irrefutable proof." For the first time, Renee had nothing to say. She looked at the documents. She looked at Marcus. She looked at me. And I saw the truth in her eyes. Not remorse. Not guilt. Just anger. Anger that she had been caught. Anger that her game was over. Anger that she was going to have to face the consequences of what she had done. The legal proceedings took months. Renee was charged with multiple counts of fraud, identity theft, and elder abuse. The trial was grueling. I had to testify. I had to sit in a courtroom and look at my daughter-in-law and tell the world what she had done to me. I had to relive the humiliation. The betrayal. The pain. It was one of the hardest things I had ever done. But I did it. Because I knew that if I didn't stand up for myself, no one else would. I knew that if I let her get away with it, she would do it to someone else. Marcus testified too. His voice was steady. His eyes were clear. He had come a long way in those months. He had accepted the truth. He had accepted that the woman he loved didn't exist. That the woman he had married was a stranger. That the life they had built together was a lie. And he had made peace with that. Or as much peace as he could. He told the court everything. Every detail. Every piece of evidence. Every moment of betrayal. The jury listened. They believed us. They convicted Renee on all charges. The sentencing was the hardest part. The judge looked at Renee and said she had shown no remorse. She had shown no regret. She had shown no understanding of the harm she had caused. He sentenced her to 5 years in prison. Full restitution of all the money she had stolen. And a permanent restraining order. She was not allowed to contact me or Marcus ever again. Renee cried when they took her away. But I didn't feel sorry for her. I couldn't. Because she hadn't cried when she was taking my money. She hadn't cried when I was eating canned soup and rationing my medication. She hadn't cried when she was lying to my face and calling me mom. She had only cried when she was caught. And those tears weren't for me. They were for herself. They were for the life she had lost. The life she had thrown away. The life she had built on stealing from the people who loved her. I didn't feel triumph when it was over. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt something else. Something quieter. Something that felt almost like peace. The kind of peace that comes from knowing you did the right thing. The kind of peace that comes from standing up for yourself. The kind of peace that comes from protecting the people you love. I had done that. I had protected Marcus. I had protected myself. I had made sure that Renee couldn't hurt anyone else. And that mattered. That mattered more than the money. I walked out of that courtroom with my son's hand in mine. He was crying. So was I. But they were good tears. Tears of relief. Tears of release. Tears of hope. The restitution money came in. $144,000. It didn't fix everything. It didn't undo what Renee had done. It didn't erase the humiliation. It didn't give me back the years I had spent worrying about money. But it helped. I paid off my mortgage. I fixed the roof. I bought a new furnace. I stocked my pantry. I stopped worrying about whether I could afford my medication. I finally started sleeping through the night. Marcus apologized to me more times than I could count. He was consumed with guilt. He had trusted the wrong person. He had introduced her into my life. He had given her the opportunity to hurt me. And he couldn't forgive himself. I told him over and over again that it wasn't his fault. That he couldn't have known. That nobody could have known. But he still carried the weight of it. I saw it in his eyes every time he looked at me. And I wished I could take it away from him. I wished I could make him understand that I didn't blame him. That I had never blamed him. That I loved him. That I always would. That he was the best thing that had ever happened to me. And that no amount of betrayal could ever change that. I started volunteering at the hospital again. Not as a nurse. I was retired. But they needed people to help with the family support center. Families of patients needed someone to talk to. Someone who understood what they were going through. Someone who could listen. I had been that person for 37 years. I knew how to do it. I knew how to sit with someone in their darkest moment and just be present. I knew how to hold their hand and tell them they weren't alone. And it helped. It helped me. It gave me purpose. It gave me meaning. It reminded me that there is good in the world. That not everyone is like Renee. That there are still people who are kind and honest and decent. That there is still hope. Marcus started coming with me. He had quit his job. He had needed a change. He needed to do something that mattered. Something that made him feel like he was making a difference. So he came to the hospital with me. He sat with families. He held their hands. He listened to their stories. He didn't always know what to say. But he learned. He learned that sometimes just being there is enough. That sometimes the most important thing you can do is show up and not run away. He was healing. Slowly. Carefully. One day at a time. I started writing in a journal. I wrote about everything. The retirement party. Marcus's question. The bank records. The confrontation. The trial. The aftermath. I wrote about Renee. About my anger. About my sadness. About my disbelief. I wrote about Marcus. About his pain. About his guilt. About his healing. I wrote about myself. About who I had been. About who I was becoming. It was therapeutic. It was healing. It helped me make sense of everything. And one day, I realized that my story could help other people. Other people who had been betrayed by someone they trusted. Other people who didn't know how to move forward. Other people who felt alone and broken and hopeless. So I shared my journal with a few friends. They shared it with their friends. And soon, it was being read by people all over the world. I didn't intend to become a public figure. I didn't intend to be a symbol of survival or resilience or hope. But that's what happened. People reached out to me. They told me their stories. They told me that my story had given them the strength to leave their own toxic relationships. That my story had given them the courage to confront their own betrayers. That my story had given them hope that they could survive too. And I realized that my pain could be transformed into something good. Something that helped others. Something that had purpose. I started speaking at events. Women's conferences. Senior centers. Support groups. I told my story. I told it over and over again. And every time I told it, I healed a little bit more. Because I was taking the worst thing that had ever happened to me and turning it into something meaningful. Something that mattered. Something that would outlast me. Marcus and I started a foundation together. We called it the Walsh Family Trust. It was a resource for families dealing with financial betrayal. We provided legal advice. Emotional support. Financial planning. We helped people navigate the complicated process of reporting fraud and pressing charges. We gave them the tools they needed to rebuild their lives. We gave them hope. Marcus ran the foundation. He threw himself into the work. He traveled the country speaking to support groups and advocacy organizations. He wrote articles. He appeared on podcasts. He did everything he could to raise awareness about financial abuse of the elderly. He had found his purpose. He had found his calling. And I was so proud of him. So proud of the man he had become. So proud of the way he had taken his pain and transformed it into something good. He had come so far from the broken man who had sat at my kitchen table staring at bank records and trying to process his wife's betrayal. He was a survivor now. Just like me. Renee was released from prison after 3 years. Good behavior. I didn't go to see her. I didn't have any desire to see her. I had moved on. I had healed. I had built a new life. A life that didn't include her. A life that was full and rich and meaningful. I heard through mutual friends that she had moved to another state. That she had started a new life. That she was trying to put the past behind her. I didn't care. I didn't wish her ill. I didn't wish her well. I just didn't think about her at all. She was irrelevant to me. She was a chapter of my life that had closed. A lesson I had learned. A chapter one had moved on from. Marcus struggled more with her release. He had been married to her for 8 years. He had loved her. He had trusted her. He had built a life with her. And now she was walking free. He had to process that in his own time. In his own way. I was there for him. I was always there for him. I listened when he needed to talk. I held him when he needed to cry. I reminded him of his worth. His strength. His resilience. And eventually, he found his peace too. 7 years after the retirement party, I celebrated my 72nd birthday. Marcus threw me a party at his house. It was small. Just family and a few close friends. But it was perfect. I sit here now, writing this, looking out my window at the garden Marcus planted for me. Roses. My mother's favorites. They bloom every summer, bright and beautiful and full of life. I think about everything that happened. The betrayal. The pain. The healing. The growth. And I don't regret any of it. Not really. Because it made me who I am. It made me stronger. It made me wiser. It made me appreciate the things that truly matter. Family. Love. Trust. Integrity. I learned that you can't control what other people do. You can only control how you respond. And I chose to respond with strength. With dignity. With grace. I chose to rise above the betrayal. I chose to build something better from the ashes. And I did. I really did. If you're watching this and you've been betrayed by someone you trusted, I want you to know a few things. First, you are not alone. Millions of people have been exactly where you are. They have survived. You can too. Second, it is not your fault. You did not cause someone to hurt you. They made that choice. That was their mistake. Not yours. Third, you deserve better. You deserve love and respect and honesty. You deserve to be treated with dignity. You deserve to have a life that is free from manipulation and abuse. Fourth, you are stronger than you think. I didn't think I could survive. But I did. And you can too. You have more strength than you realize. More resilience than you know. More courage than you can imagine. And you will get through this. I promise you. You will get through this. I want to leave you with one final thought. The people who hurt you will try to make you believe that you deserved it. They will try to make you feel small and weak and broken. But they are wrong. You are not small. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are a survivor. You are a warrior. You are a person of incredible strength and resilience. And you have the power to rise above everything that has been done to you. You have the power to heal. You have the power to thrive. You have the power to build a life that is beautiful and full and meaningful. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Don't let anyone steal your power. It belongs to you. It has always belonged to you. And it always will. Thank you for listening to my story. If it helped you or moved you or made you feel less alone, that's all I could ever ask for. Drop a heart in the comments if you believe in justice. Share your story below. Someone out there needs to know they're not alone. And if you're still here with me, Comment still here so I know you made it to the end. Next week I'll tell you about a woman who discovered her husband was hiding an entire second family while she was planning their 25th anniversary party. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Because sometimes the people closest to you are hiding the biggest secrets. This is Eleanor Walsh signing off. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And never stop fighting for what's right. Goodbye for now.